Welcome to UK Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host.
Hello everyone and welcome to the show. I'm Trevor Stockwell. Thanks for joining me for this episode. Today, my guest is Michelle Miller. Now, Michelle has over 10 years experience in marketing, graphic and web design. She's the founder of Minty Made, which is a company that provides branding strategy, design and marketing services for wellness, sustainable and organic-based businesses. She also founded the Green Marketing Academy, which provides corporate training that helps businesses adopt sustainable marketing practices. She's here to help us all do our part to make the world a better place. So thanks for joining us. Welcome, Michelle Miller.
Thank you so much, Trevor. I'm excited to be here.
There's a lot that we need to learn, isn't there? As a nation, as a group of business owners around the world, even if we just do a little bit, we can all do something, I think, more than what we're doing, myself included, to make the world a better place, to look after the environment more. So it's really good to have the opportunity to plumb your wisdom, to learn from you as well. So appreciate your time with us today. Sure. Maybe just to kick us off so we all get to know you a little bit better, share a little bit about your journey that got you to where you are now and how you help the people that you do.
Sure. So as you mentioned, I spent over a decade in corporate marketing and sales, and during that time just really witnessed and was a part of so much waste production, designing the graphics for big corporations. They would go out to trade shows, they would be mailed out to our customers, very, very thick catalogs that would be thrown away year after year just to produce new ones. And I remember a specific memory, of being at a trade show, and I had spent months designing these very glossy graphics that each person that came into the booth would take home. And I remember watching person after person taking their entire bag of all of the marketing materials that they gathered amongst the show and throw it all in the trash can on their way out. And I sort of gasped. One, I think just sad that I had spent so much time designing these beautiful materials just to be thrown away, but also just thinking about this is one trade show in one city, in one state, in one country, and just multiply that by how many events were taking place. This was, about 7 or 8 years ago now. But that got me to think about there's ways that we can market our business without having such a detrimental effect on the planet. I mean, we are in a digital space now. I'll touch on the fact that there is a digital carbon footprint out there too. But I decided someday that I would start my own business and really educate organizations, companies, marketing teams about this, both big and small. And it's just really become a passion of mine through my own design agency and just sharing that knowledge with other small and large business owners.
Okay, well, that sounds really good. So we'll get onto the Green Academy a little bit later, but let's dive in a little bit more it'd be great to get your sort of definition of sustainable marketing. So people might see it and it might be used sort of to help promote a good company image, maybe with certain organizations. But what would it be for everybody? What does that mean?
Sure. It's more of a twofold definition. I would say sustainability with regards to saving the planet. So taking a look at the marketing materials that we are printing, putting out into the world, the giveaways and the swag, if you will, that we are giving out to customers, these ways to engage with them, making sure that those aren't contributing to a landfill problem, making sure those are compostable. There's so many different options these days. So one being good for the planet, the second being sustainable in terms of avoiding burnout, because in a marketing environment, I was part of a lot of different agencies and high pressure corporate environments before owning my business. And marketing comes with a lot of burnout. There's always a new product or a new campaign or something new that you need to launch, and it never dies down. It's salespeople say, always be selling. It's, always be marketing the same way when you're in that department. And I suffered a lot of burnout when I worked in corporate. And so I wanted to also help businesses, besides saving the planet, come up with a marketing plan that feels manageable for them. You don't need to work around the clock posting things on social media, sending out emails, gathering leads in order to have a successful business. And I think that's a huge misconception about the sustainability of marketing in general. Another big aspect of sustainable marketing is knowing how to communicate your sustainability efforts with your clients or your customers, making sure that you're not greenwashing them. That's a big term that many of your listeners may be familiar with, maybe not so much, but making sure that your messaging is transparent and that you're not sort of pulling the wool over anyone's eyes and saying that your product is green by slapping on, a green logo on there and calling it a day, but actually teaching them or showing them what you're doing behind the scenes to make your company, product, or service more sustainable.
It can, particularly nowadays, I think, because there's a lot more consciousness about the planet. We have different sort of environment issues, floods and everything else that is the result, we're told, of lots of different issues of how we've looked after or not looked after the environment in the past. So there's lots of sort of things in everyone's awareness that the downside, the bad side of it. So it's really good, that you're helping people change things from a business perspective as well. But also, I'm guessing when it's done right, and as you say, ethically, there's a lot of benefits by kind of marketing yourself in a way that you are a company, an organization that promotes that aspect to it. Whether it costs slightly more or not, I don't know. I guess maybe that's something that you can touch on as well. But even if it does, the investment, it's better because it's better long term for the next generation and us as well to some extent. But also the branding, you're being ethical, you're being kind of authentic with the branding. And also people, I think a lot more will pick organizations that show a greater level of responsibility, rather than just being it for making money or it's a great product, I just want to buy the product. It's like people are a lot more aware, aren't they, of thinking through, okay, so are they paying a good wage to their workers and that aspect, as well as are they being sustainable in their marketing as well? So is that what you're seeing as well from your perspective?
Definitely. I think, climate change, sustainability are all issues that more and more businesses are addressing and talking about. I see on a lot of corporations' pages, whether they really have a lot of explanation or not, is that one of their core values is sustainability, and just going deeper into what that means. There can be so much backlash for greenwashing consumers that it actually hurts your brand a lot more than helps it in the sustainability sector. And so I want to make sure that, this message is heard. If you're not sure where to start in your sustainability and marketing efforts, that's where someone like myself or other organizations can help you. I think sustainability in itself can be so overwhelming. It won't take one of us to save the planet. It takes us all. And sometimes people get too crippled with where can I start? They feel so overwhelmed and that they don't want to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. It goes along the lines of social justice issues that we face in our world. And it becomes so important to just take small, manageable steps and build that trust with your consumers rather than getting wrapped up in, we have to have some big lofty pledge or goal that needs to, blow the socks off of all of our consumers to make us influence them to buy our products or services. I think the last statistic that I included in my my course was about 60% or upwards of consumers these days are looking for brands to vote with their dollar to invest in that are showing these very clear, transparent sustainability efforts.
Yeah, wow, that's good. It's only going to get more, isn't it? Really, I think, particularly
Right.
as there's the graphic images on the news, kind of just from the environment side of it. What would be some of the other benefits you would say for people maybe listening that think, yeah, I know I need to, and yeah, I know it's the trendy thing to do as well as being responsible.
Yeah.
But if they want to be authentic about it, what would be some of the sort of maybe the first steps that they can start thinking about? I guess you've touched on do you need to produce a big glossy brochure? Are you going to put it in the hands of people that aren't really going to look at it? That's sort of kind of one element already. But any other kind of quick fixes that could be the start of sort of their journey towards sort of sustainable marketing?
Sure. Some of the easiest ways are to just educate yourself, read articles. There are thousands, probably millions of professionals on LinkedIn that are publishing articles, including myself, about these topics on greenwashing, not only from a how do I market my business standpoint, but for consumers on how to identify if I am being greenwashed or not, because it works both ways. It's not only us as business owners or as organizations or corporations that have a role in this, but also us as consumers making sure that we aren't, playing into this idea of greenwashing and lack of transparency. So one is to educate, read some articles on greenwashing, just familiarize yourself with that term. And then also I would say put together a campaign. And I'll speak to this very broadly because listeners may have a product or a service-based business, but see what you can do that's relatively low effort but high impact. So saving some electricity if you work in an office place, turning off electronics at night. Or we had at one of my last companies that I worked at, we had our IT person actually install a pop-up that every time someone went to print an email, came up with dialogue that said, are you sure that you really need to print this email? And some statistic about how much paper is wasted per year. But just getting people to think, start with a meeting with your team or with your colleagues about ways to reduce your carbon footprint, whether that is in the physical space or online, your digital carbon footprint, because all of these little things add up. So again, not to be overwhelmed, just take this one step at a time. You can address with your consumers things that you're doing well and things that you're working on and things that you want to improve on in the future, because no company is 100% green. We're all producing some sort of footprint.
Yeah, absolutely. So you touched on the digital footprint more. Elaborate a little bit more on that. You got me curious.
Sure. And about 5 years ago, I discovered the digital carbon footprint through a series of articles, and most recently read a book published by Tom Greenwood. He is actually local to the London area. He owns an agency called Whole Grain Digital. And this is when I really started to dive into creating more sustainable websites for my clients. That provides a couple of benefits in itself that I will get to later if we have time. But every website has a digital carbon footprint with the amount of images and videos and all this content that we get away with putting on our websites now, because our internet speeds, especially in the London metro area where you are, or me in Seattle in the States, it's so high speed that we don't really give it a second thought anymore. But all of that data goes back and forth between all of our computers all over the world, and that creates an energy surge, if you will. Emails that we send, that all creates a digital footprint. There was actually a statistic from the UK saying that if we just reduced our sending of emails that say, thank you, cheers, or something simple like that, that we could save, over the emissions of, I think it was 1,000 or more vehicles on the road per year. So all of that really adds up. Also, just the way that we produce content, making sure that that's accessible to all people with lower internet connections in more rural areas. That all plays into the accessibility part of it as well. And I would say for digital carbon footprint wise, there's been a lot of debate around this, because as technology improves, we actually see our devices becoming more energy efficient and such that there's been a lot of articles written about how our digital carbon footprint isn't as detrimental as we thought, but it's still important to keep that in mind as we are developing the campaigns for our business. And again, making our marketing very intentional around who it needs to reach and the message that we need to get out.
Wow, that's really good. I'm going to have a look at my website after this conversation. It's quite image heavy, actually. So, no, interesting. Yeah, see, I didn't know that. Now I know it. So,
Yeah, he actually has a carbon calculator. It's listed on the bottom of my website that we'll link here, but it'll actually show you how green your website is. And don't be alarmed if it says it's 90% dirty or whatever. But it'll really show you ways that you can cut down and make it a more enjoyable experience for those visiting your website.
that sounds good. Yeah, it's going to be a win-win all round, isn't it? So, yeah, no, that's really good. And it comes back to, like, it's easy to almost dismiss the power that we each have. It really is. Like, you take litter, for example. Someone walks down the road, or trash, if you want to call it that, and they don't throw it in the bin, they just throw it on the road. Every now and again, you see a piece of litter on the ground. If everybody that walked down that street did that, it would be absolutely awful. I won't get on the soapbox, but it compounds, doesn't it? Just if you take the attitude that it doesn't matter, I don't need to be responsible for this, that, and the other, and everybody took that, what sort of place will we be living in? And if you look at the environment, to some extent, we're already there, aren't we? Maybe not from a litter perspective, but the way the world is responding to weather patterns and everything else. Lots more involved, I know, but from a business perspective, we've all got responsibility, not just for our own lives, but also for what we're communicating and how we're communicating and that as well. So it's a really key message that you've got,
Sure.
and you're helping us with. So yeah, thank you for that.
Sure.
One
Can I add
thing,
one more thing?
yeah, go on. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's also a misconception around sustainable and green marketing that it has to be boring. So, in a lot of books that I've read and how I teach other businesses is you don't need to just have a, black and white text on a website and no images, no video to make it sustainable. Same with printing business cards. You don't just have to print on, 100% recycled paper with black and white soy-based ink and just make things super plain. There's a lot of very creative ways that you can still market your business sustainably, whether that's in print or the digital space. Thanks. I just wanted to add that in as well.
No, it's important. Yeah, it really is. Yeah. I could draw the analogy to health food and salad, but I won't go there because that needs explaining, and I won't take up the time now to do that. One thing I was curious about really is there, for sort of maybe the bigger organisations particularly, but maybe some of the smaller ones as well. And this is showing my ignorance, so apologies if there is or not. I just don't know about it. Almost like a benchmark grading, like within sort of organic food, there's like over here, there's the Soil Association badge kind of award, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure it's kind of more widespread. But is there a limit, sort of kind of a parallel aspect with regards to sustainability that you could kind of reach for as an organization and almost get that certification, if that's the best term to use? And I guess, is that then region, country specific, or is there something people can aim at a bit wider?
Sure. Yeah, there are so many different certifications. I'll just list a couple. There's, I believe, I'll talk about, those that are based in the US, but there's a B Corporation. There's also the Green Business Bureau, I believe, that's in the UK and Europe as well. I don't have all the names in front of me, but I can certainly send those to you to include in the show notes. But yes, there are many well-known organizations that not only look at your sustainability in the sense of your marketing materials and your marketing strategy, like my business does, but in all areas of your business: manufacturing, operations, the way that you treat your employees fairly. All of that plays a role into this. But yes, there's several different certifications out there, and I have a certification with my training and my course as well, because again, it's all about showing that your company has made the investment, made the commitment in time to educating ourselves about these green practices and really showing that they've done the work, not just, slapping a logo or something on their website and moving on.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's really good. So maybe a really good time to ask you more about the Green Marketing Academy. So how did that, I can understand where that came from and why you've brought it into being. Is there sort of a certain level or size organization that you aim to sort of start teaching from the training perspective that people would then sort of join and participate in?
Sure. No, I've actually I have a small online based course that smaller businesses, marketing professionals, individuals go through and get a certification at the end. But I've also helped some larger organizations take a look at this, whether it's in the form of hour-long training just to make them aware of this and see what they can do, all the way from half day to full day trainings where I bring other instructors in beyond myself to talk about areas that is really relevant to them, whether it's their website, whether it's their marketing materials that they're sending out. So the way that the Green Marketing Academy came to be is I was first focusing on just the print materials, and then I was focusing on website design and emails, and figured at the end of it, when I had a very large curriculum, I thought, well, I'll just make this a full-fledged course having to do with sustainable marketing, because there is so much information to share, and it keeps evolving, right? Marketing is changing. There's always a new fancy app out there or something to use, and I just want this to continue on as we get new information. It's not something that you learn once and then you're sort of done with it. It keeps evolving, as I said.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And so for people that maybe are interested in the Minty Maid side of it, of I don't really have a sustainable strategy, but
Sure.
I certainly like to find out more. What would sort of working with yourself look like from, I suppose, depending on the size of the company they are, what they do as well, but the general sort of process, what would that look like?
Sure. So I have a contact forum on my website, of course, just to ask some general questions about your company or organization's goals and getting a clear sense of that before we would hop on a call together and just talk through the best options. I don't have set packages per se, because every client I've worked with over the past 4 years or so has different goals, different needs and expectations. So I personally, doesn't work for everybody, but don't like to just box into these different packages. So a lot of that then transpires over into more interest in the Green Marketing Academy side of things. And again, just making sure that if we're working on rebranding your business or relaunching your new website, how does sustainability, inclusivity, accessibility, and ethics, how does that all work together to deliver a superb product or service for your, end customers to really trust you in your business?
Yeah, that sounds really good. Yeah, well done. I appreciate what you're doing for not only the planet, but just the way we approach business and the way
Sure.
we need to change things. I think that's really good. Anything before we kind of wrap this up? Anything that you want to share that we haven't maybe touched on yet, which is kind of burning and you want to share with everybody?
Sure. Nothing immediately comes to mind. I host monthly workshops on different topics. If you're not ready to, go full headfirst into green marketing and the course and all of that and a training, there's a lot of resources, blog articles and such that I do. And just to learn more about it, it's in the sustainability space. It's a very interesting approach, sort of anti-capitalistic mindset, I guess, because the more of us talking about this and the more businesses that are talking about sustainability and helping with it, the better, right? So it is truly a community over competition, just world that I live in. And it lights me up every day that I get to do this work and continue to help businesses. So yeah, I really appreciate this opportunity to get the word out to your audience, and look forward to meeting more UK business owners. I have quite a few that have gone through the certification already, and I just want to acknowledge that the UK is such a central hub of sustainability, and I'm continually impressed with the amount of work that's being done outside of the United States.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
really good to hear. I didn't know that. It's good to know.
Yeah.
We're still, we need to improve on certain things, but it's good
Yeah.
to know at least in that we're doing well. So always good to hear positive news. So yeah, good to know that. So for people that want to touch base, either for the Marketing Academy or for Minty Maid, there'll be links below, but just share with us best way to get to you.
Sure. Best way is probably LinkedIn. That's where I'm typically most active. I guess a secondary would be Instagram. But you can find me on LinkedIn. It's / Green Marketing Movement is my handle, if you will. And on Instagram, Minty Maid or the Green Marketing Academy, or other ways to connect. Not too active on Facebook, but still have all the normal content posted there. Or just feel free to drop me an email, and I can send you over those links as well. But would love to continue the conversation with anyone who's interested.
Yeah, no, that's really good, and it's such an important message as well. Not only to chat about between us now, but also just to get in our conversations with colleagues, with business owners that we interact with as well. It's just like, let's hold each other more accountable as to what we're actually doing to really make not just our lives a better place, but the lives of those around us that maybe we don't meet in a business context, but we all share the same address. It's the same planet, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
So it's such a key thing that we need to collectively look after. So it's really good. Thank you that you've taken time of your day to share with us such a key message. As I say, I'm passionate about the fact that we need to do something about it, but also we can, and I think it's a lot easier than people think to some extent. I'm not completely there myself, but yeah, for a long time it's just that I've been a lot more aware of what I do and what I don't, just from that perspective. And it's not difficult. I don't find it that difficult to incorporate little changes every now and again.
Sure.
And from a business perspective, it's the same. And I suppose to some extent, growth is like that in all aspects, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you learn, you want to learn a language, you learn a little bit at a time, and then it gradually compounds. And then you look back
Right.
and you realize how far you've come.
Yeah.
It's just the same with that. So it's really good. You've got us all thinking. You've certainly got me thinking as well. And hopefully, if people listening, it's encouraging. It's not suddenly, I need to do lots of other things and change how I do everything. It's like there's little changes heading in the right direction. If you're ready to step in a bit further, then by all means, find out what Michelle can do one-to-one and work with you to get the whole strategy in place. If you're not at that point yet, just think about it more, read about it more, talk about it more, and put something that she shared today into practice just to help move things in the right direction. You'll be glad that you did. And so will generations to come. Be glad we did. I feel like I'm getting very deep, but it's important. It's such an important thing to talk about and focus on. So always fun to chat with people that know what they're talking about and want to help people. So thanks, Michelle, again for your time. I really appreciate it. It's been great chatting. Nice meeting you as well as an individual.
Yes, thank you so much. Likewise.
Brilliant. So for everybody listening, as always, we encourage you, take some sort of action. We believe in you and we believe in your potential. So make sure, don't sell yourself short. Do something positive that moves you forward and then helps other people as well. Thanks for joining us. Catching this episode is very positive, so you've done well in that respect. Catch us again on the next episode, and we will see you then.
Thank you for listening to UK Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.ukbusinessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.